Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Magic gameplay. This time around we are on Death Pass playing as the forces of Brettonia against the forces of the High Elves. And now this is traditionally a match that's pretty one-sided, but in this game we're actually against the player known as Devil May Cry, who's one of the top on the ladder. And so I figured, you know what, this might be a bit of an interesting matchup. Obviously High Elves, though traditionally not favored in this match, do have quite a few tricks up their sleeve. They can, of course, bring a Lariel, who has a whole bunch of annoying healing gimmicks, as well as bringing Teclis, who also has some pretty cool stuff like Flaming Sword of Ruin. He's got regrowth, nets, that sort of stuff. So there definitely is some opportunity there for Brettonia to work. And I kind of want to see what one of the better players on the server would be doing. So going over my build here, there isn't much to say. It's actually a pretty stock build for Brettonia. 5 men-at-arms in the front. Fey Enchantress here in the center. She's only got Earthblood. I actually didn't bring anything else. Perhaps should have bought a second spell, but oh well, what can you do? We do have Mist the Lady, of course, for that drain effect. We do have Favor of the Fey, as well as Chalice of Potions for bombardment. 3 units of Peasant Bows with Fire Arrows, Grail Guardians in the center as an anchor, and then 2 units of Grail Knights on either flank, so 4 units in total. Now for my opponent, he did decide to go with a Lariel build. So he does have a Lariel here in the center, around sitting alongside 2 nobles. She does have Earthblood as well as Frost Protection, does have the Shieldstone of Isha for the physical resist. In fact, does not have, as far as I can tell, the item that grants magic damage, which is a bit surprising. Star of Avalorn is there, as well as Stave of Avalorn, which Stave of Avalorn I'm a bit surprised by, if that you'd bring that instead of the physical, or instead of the psychological resist, as well as magic damage, but perhaps there's a reason there, looking to get the most out of his spells and Lariel without dying. 2 nobles alongside her. Not much to be said for them. They're basically stock on a horse. 2 units of Silver Helms on on the back here alongside these troops. So these guys, nothing too impressive. They're a decent unit, but obviously they don't trade well with most Brettonian cav. Tit for tat, their equivalent Knights of the Realm will completely outtrade them. Knights of the Realm will demolish Silver Helms very, very handily. So definitely a bit of a rough unit, but perhaps alongside Lariel using their very high leadership, they can make those nobles last much longer and do a lot more damage. For the front line, my opponent has a few spears strung out along the flanks. He does have 4 units of archers in the center, as well as 2 Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers who are already teeing off on my infantry formation. Now, the good things here for me was the fact that I hid my cav on the flank. I had kind of anticipated some artillery play, and so Grail Knights are going to be swinging around up the flanks, playing it safe. Now, my opponent here could charge down the pipe with the Silver Helms as well as Hero Squad, but of course he knows I'm hiding something. You can't believe this is going to be an entire Brettonian force. And of course the Fey Enchantress sitting alongside the Grail Guardians is not going to roll over and die just like that. She will take a very long time to take it down. And of course, Grail Guardians will dumpster Silver Helms. It's not really a contest. So, in the meantime, my opponent is pushing in here. I do believe he actually pulled in front of a bolt thrower and took a shot there to the back. You can see right here. That's actually kind of funny. Poor little guy just got blasted off his horse by friendly fire. But besides that, my opponent does kind of sally forth, but the Grail Guardians pull out. And although they're going to take a bit of a pounding from the bolt throwers and the archers, they do apply some pressure. Anytime our Peasant Bows are going to start working on the Phoenix Guard, which might seem like a silly move. They are, after all, one of the tankiest units here, but they are also the most dangerous by far. Obviously, you're not going to do much against Nobles or Lariel because they're just so inaccurate. So, with the options I've got left, basically Phoenix Guard are the way to go. In the meantime, though, the Grail Knights are going to be swinging from the flanks. You can see this unit over here is actually going to be going for the full-blooded charge on the periphery here. My opponent does pop Frost Protection, and he's going to be looking to heal through this. In the meantime, we have hit our Favor of the Fey on our Grail Guardians, and the Arrow Swarm is kind of pouring in, and the Fey Enchantress now in the fray is going to start draining all of these troops. Anytime we are going to summon a Chalice of Potions on top of these Phoenix Guards, who are very, very blobbed up, which is, of course, beneficial to ourselves. And watch as just they lose so much HP. Half their HP basically gone instantly, but my opponent counteracts with Earthblood. So it's a lot of tit for tat right now. The Grail Guardians are taking a huge pounding before the Men-at-Arms get into the fray. Perhaps a bit of a misplay there on my part. And over here, this was a huge mistake on my part. So rather than putting my Knights into Lance Formation, I figured I could simply flank around and get around these spears. Now what I should have done is piled into the Spearmen in Lance Formation, gone back to back with the Grail Knights, broken the line, and immediately swarmed all over this back line. Instead, I did not. I'm going to be able to shut down this bolt thrower here, but the fact of the matter is my opponent is able to protect these archers. He's able to defend himself, and in the meantime, my Grail Knights are taking huge amounts of damage from these spears, which is a huge mistake on my part. In the meantime, these Grail Knights over here do kind of cycle out, and they are going to start doing some damage to these spearmen before pulling back in. And for my opponent, his cavalry corps is kind of failing. Of course, the Silver Helms can't really hold. They're having a horrible time of it. We are hitting our own troops there with an Earthblood. The Grail Guardians did take a bit of a pounding, but of course they will recover. reasonably well. And at this point, the battle definitely in a bit of a interesting spot. Now, certainly I managed to compromise my opponent's backline, but it has cost me far more than usual. In most of my Brettonia games, one of the big differences I make in most of my Brettonia games is that I usually lance formation through spear formations. I didn't do that here, and I'm paying for it very, very badly. Simple fact of the matter is these Grail Knights should have been in the back line. They should have been overwhelming all these troops, and instead it's only happening now after they've taken huge poundings. These guys actually broke on 34 models, which is pretty sad. You definitely wouldn't expect that. But the Fae is in there. She's providing her pressure, and the Archer mob kind of doing some work. Now, unfortunately, though, the full rout has happened. I wasn't entirely sure what happened here that caused this entire total break. Fortunately, these men-at-arms do not break. So credit to the people there. They are holding this Phoenix Guard in place, who are getting hit by a Star of Avalon, which is a quite ridiculous healing ability. There are a lot of calls for nerfs. I personally agree that it should be nerfed, but right here it is keeping my opponent in the fray for sure. Now, in the meantime, he has pulled his nobles out, and they are going to get hit like a truck by the Grail Knights. Grail Knights certainly not necessarily the best in sustained combat or against heavy armor, but certainly nobles, they can take him apart. But my opponent does counteract with false protection. Of course, Alariel just has so much Winds of Magic. She's got Arcane Conduit, and she's able to just keep spamming these buffs and heals. And of course, every time she does that, she's also getting some peripheral perks. She's getting the Life Bloom heal. She's also getting the Shield of Sapphire. So her army is very, very tanky. And now everything is kind of clumping up here in the center. Over here on the flanks, we do have our Grail Knights as well as Grail Guardians mopping up the Silver Helms, removing them from play. And these Silver Helms are up to 250 kills almost. So getting stupid amounts of value, huge misplays on my part, allowing all of my archers to be routed off. So basically, this has been a bit of a comedy of errors for me, and definitely it's been pretty uninspiring. Over here, Chalice Potions goes down, but the clump was nowhere near as severe. The Phoenix Guard are going to weather it much better. And in the meantime, you know, things are looking grim. If we take an overarching look at the battlefield, Balance of Power was seconds ago completely out of my favor. Now it's about center. But if we look at the battlefield, I'm running out of infantry. Faye is healthy, of course, but she can't really fight Alariel, much less the two nobles. And my Knight Squad is in bad shape. 9 Grail Knights over there, 27 there, but they are pulling away right now. Grail Guardians on 13 models, I believe, and these Grail Knights only on 24. So definitely looking very, very bad for Brettonia right now. These Grail Knights only 9, these Grail Knights over there 19, so basically all of our Grail Knights under health. And of course, one of the big benefits is that in this late game stage, as my opponent's army is going to start getting winded or exhausted, depending on the troops, these guys are the nobles who have been fighting throughout this whole battle, as well as the Phoenix Guard, are now very tired and exhausted. So that's a big boon for me, because my Knights are just so much more useful now. Relative to my opponent's troops, but at the same time they've been very badly mauled because of my earlier misplays, my sort of feeding play style, and I've paid for it pretty badly. And the second problem here is my noble escapes, or my opponent's noble here manages to sort of eke out an escape. He's able to get out, dodge. He still has almost 1800 HP. So ideally, I would have been able to sort of knock him off, like shoot him and kill him or whatever, kill him with the Fan Enchantress, run him off the field. But because Fan Enchantress, right as this guy routed, she came into this infantry pocket, and then before that happened, I couldn't really push through. I couldn't pull out and chase him. He was able to rally, and he's back in the fight now with Alariel, and suddenly things are looking much, much worse. The Phoenix Guard here holding their own, up to 80 kills now, most of those against elite cavalry, or probably quite a few of those against elite cavalry, and my opponent now does drop the Star of Avalon. So once again, that ridiculous ability, it's basically got, like, I do believe it's regrowth levels of healing, and is going to be healing my opponent up a huge amount here. Now, seeing it, I'm actually going to pull away. I'm simply going to leave. I'm going to make sure he doesn't get too much healing on this noble here, especially, because this noble has not really taken that much damage. This noble's almost dead, but the other noble, this guy, he's still got a ways to go. He's still got, actually not, but he's almost healed, so I figured, you know what, screw this. We're going to pull away and cycle charge. The Fate Enchantress Mortis Engine effect here is melting down the Phoenix Guard. Now, as my opponent is really starting to strain and run out of infantry forces, that's definitely going to be a big benefit. And on the flanks, our Grail Knights are going to be able to run over some of these archers, but once again, because that earlier mauling, they're not getting as much value as we would like. These Grail Knights over here, 7 models left, 15 over here. These Grail Knights still pretty healthy, but still only 19 models. And so at this point, I was looking to clean up my opponent's flanks, get rid of all these peripheral troops, and hoping that if I did that much damage, my opponent's infantry corps would buckle, and I'd be able to sort of finally deal with these last few legs of nobles and Alariel and that sort of stuff. The Grail Guardians here are fighting tooth and nail. I do hit him with the Fate of the Fae, perhaps wasted. Perhaps I should have saved it for later, but I was really desperate to stop the guy from pushing through. And the Fae here barely squeezes away with her life. And I'm going to use her to clean up some of these troops on the flank. Now, these nobles do pull away, preventing the rear charge. But in turn, they're going to get pretty badly bludgeoned here. And some of the Grail Knights do actually overshoot, get into the Phoenix Guard. And we do manage to hit our boys with an Earthblood. So it's a very back and forth, tit for tat, heal fest, or heal versus damage fest here. And the Phoenix Guard finally being drained down to their last legs. Fan Enchantress is in their rear sheet. Of course, going to be doing quite a lot of damage to their low HP pools, and the Phoenix Guard breaks. And suddenly Balance of Power starts swinging back towards the middle. In an overarching view, we can see some spears coming back in, some archers for my opponent coming back in, but in turn, my archers, at least a handful, are coming back, and that is going to be a big boon. And now I was desperately just trying to focus my opponent's troops one at a time, get rid of these nobles one at a time, get them off the field, and then mop up Alariel as a finale, because I realized Alariel's probably going to hold out. So, looking over things at this stage, you can see we're definitely on our last legs. These Grail Knights down to 8 models. These Grail Knights over here on 17. Most of my Grail Knights killed to a man. These on 3 models over there. We do manage to remove that guy over there. Our Grail Guardians were slaughtered to a man, I do believe. And although the Men-at-Arms here will be able to clean up these spears, it's definitely a dire situation. These Noble, he is holding pretty strong. You can see he's running there, but definitely quite a pounding. He's going to be able to squeeze his way out of there. I do actually reroute the Fey Enchantress to chase him off the field. And in the meantime, we're stuck in this grind. These Grail Knights down to 1 model, the last guy on 112 HP, so fighting alongside his comrades from the other units, and this is just such a haggard force. 4 Grail Knights, 7 Grail Knights, wailing away on this Noble. Fortunately, though, the Men-at-Arms in the fray here are actually going to be a big boost in this situation, because my opponent, while he does definitely have a lot of staying power here, the Men-at-Arms are going to be diluting the damage he'd be throwing onto the Grail Knights. He'll be preventing them from doing too much, allowing the Grail Knights to keep working them down. So the Fey Enchantress here is going to be able to run off the Noble. Our archers are able to force off these archers. And with that, my opponent's army is basically removed from play. It's basically just the Alariel alongside the Noble. Over here, these Grail Knights down to their last model, still fighting tooth and nail. Like, this guy is an absolute champion of the people. Takes some splash damage there, but at this point in this very long and protracted sort of grind, we're definitely winning out. Somewhat surprisingly, perhaps, but these Grail Knights here are going to squeeze out, looking to cycle charge back in. We got Men-at-Arms pouring in from all flanks, looking to keep my opponent penned in and prevent him from escaping. Fey Enchantress comes in with the Steel Chariot, cycle charging into the Noble, because she does have a respectable charge bonus, I think, of 74, so that's not bad. Obviously, this guy, when he's exhausted, his armor's only about 70 or so when he's exhausted, so the Fey with a cycle charge will definitely be hitting him pretty hard. And although my opponent does get a Noble back here, the Noble's leadership is completely wavering. We're actually going to pull some of our Knights away here, I do believe. Get him off the field, remove this Noble from play. Force him to go away with a nice little charge. Of course, the exhaustion is, I do believe, also hurting my opponent's leadership at this stage. But simple reality is we are going to be able to grind out just barely these Grail Knights 7 models. Just look, I was basically keeping a track throughout this game of just how few models we had left, and we had some of our units got wiped to a man. I do believe our 1-man Grail Knight squad got killed. These guys are down to 4 models. Just some brutal stuff as my opponent's army shatters, and we are given a Pyrrhic victory. So the match, I think, was a lot closer than it should have been. There was stuff that I did as a player that I made some serious mistakes, and that ended up helping Devil May Cry a lot in this game. First and foremost, I didn't really bunker bust correctly. I had 4 units of Grail Knights, which is more than adequate to overrun a backline. More than adequate. And what I did instead was I kind of came in with a flank attack into 1 unit, and then I charged into a unit of spears, I think, because I was looking just to get a size flank charge. And then instead of just plowing through to the back line, I pushed through with only partially, because I went wide instead of just piling through with lance formation. And so those were huge misplays. That meant that although my Grail Knights did get huge value in the long run, in the early game when I really need to be shutting down all these archers, look at these guys, 43 kills, 7, 11, 17. These guys did huge amounts of damage, morale damage, broke my peasants repeatedly. The bolt throwers did pick off quite a few models. And when they need to be removed from play, I was not using my Grail Knights correctly for that. And so that, I think, gave my opponent a huge edge. At the same time, though, my opponent definitely exploited certain things very effectively. He used the Silver Helms to overrun my backline. The Nobles, alongside Alariel, had a stupidly good performance here. They were able to really wail on me and sort of last forever, basically. They basically had to be killed down to the last slivers of HP alongside the Phoenix Guard, so that was very efficient usage there. Once again, I do think that had I been more efficient at wiping out the periphery, what I should have done is just use Men-at-Arms to bog my opponent's core down, bog these Nobles down, Alariel down, and then sort of run shop on my opponent's backline. And I think that would have probably been a much smarter idea, but in the heat of the moment, what I did was I kind of committed to that big blob fight, looking to drain my opponent down with the Fey Enchantress, which just wasn't the way to go in that situation. because my opponent took advantage of it. He uses mobility on his silver helms to compromise my shooting. He used his archers to get a lot of value, and it was a really tight match. So definitely well played. I personally, although this build definitely brought me down to the wire, I think it more came down to my mistakes than the build necessarily. I do think, personally, I do think that if you're playing with Alariel here, you definitely want that magic damage aura. It's not going to hurt you against anything Brettonia. Well, that's not entirely true. It hurts you against Fanchantress, who has stupid high magic resist. But against everything else Brettonia brings. Grail Knights, Grail Guardians, Royal Hippogriff Knights, Royal Pegasus Knights, the Companions of Canella, which you might see, Lewin, Green Knight, all these units. Now, sure, some of these are much less likely than others, but Grail Knights are almost guaranteed in this matchup, and that magic aura will help you a huge amount. Second of all, I do think Nobles are a good choice in this matchup. My opponent didn't bring them here, or not Nobles, sorry. Dragon Princes are a very good choice. My opponent brought Silverhelms, who one of them did amazing work. But personally, I do think Dragon Princes, especially Fireborn, are just so very potent in this match, and might just be my 2 cents there, but definitely think that would have given my opponent an edge. Regardless, very well played to my opponent. Obviously, the top players in the ladder, last I checked. Definitely was a very fun, intense game. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining and fun. Just entertaining as I did. Definitely had me on the edge of my seat as I was playing it. So I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, do not hesitate to post them, and I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.